Simply K-pop.
Simply K-pop, bringing artists and fans together through music. A festival of captivating performances and live sounds. Dive into the real rhythm of K-pop that's taken the world by storm. A weekly show that connects the world on one stage. Simply K-pop.
Hello and welcome to our morning edition of Arirang News. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. South Korea has unveiled a tax reform plan aimed at curbing house prices. The government says it will promote tax fairness by expanding tax benefits for owner-occupied homes, particularly for middle-class households, while imposing a heavier tax burden on higher-value properties. A record-breaking heat wave is now spreading into the western part of South Korea, including the capital region. The Greater Seoul area is now under the country's first-ever severe heat emergency warning, with temperatures in some districts expected to reach 39 degrees Celsius today. U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran faces its last chance to reach a nuclear deal, saying talks with Tehran are underway. But Iran insists it is not negotiating with Washington. We begin this morning with the South Korean government rolling out a sweeping tax reform package centered on revising the comprehensive real estate tax to promote tax fairness. Our Kim Bo-kyung has the details.
With Seoul apartment prices posting their sharpest first-half gain in 18 years, despite tough government regulations, the administration has unveiled a tax reform plan targeting property owners. One of the major reforms raises the basic tax deduction for owner-occupied single homes to 1.4 billion won, while lowering it to 900 million won if the owner does not reside in the property. The move is designed to ease the financial burden on primary residents while normalizing taxes for non-occupiers. The government will also overhaul the comprehensive real estate tax system, shifting from a home count model to one based strictly on property value. Differentiated tax rates for multiple homeowners will be phased out by 2028. However, tax rates for properties valued between 600 million and 1.2 billion won will rise starting next year.
Our primary goal in rationalizing the real estate tax system is to ensure fairness. That means offering greater tax benefits for owner-occupied homes, particularly for middle-class households, while ensuring an appropriate tax burden on higher-value properties.
Under existing rules, residents earning capital gains were eligible for an annual basic deduction of 2.5 million won. Under the new plan, the basic capital gains deduction will increase tenfold from 2.5 million to 25 million won for single homeowners who have lived in their property for over 10 years, aiming to reduce the tax burden on long-term residents. Multiple property owners selling homes in regulated areas previously faced heavy capital gains tax surcharges. To encourage owners to bring properties to market, the government will temporarily ease these surcharges during a targeted window through 2027 and 2028.
Considering the normalization of property holding taxes, the government will temporarily extend capital gains tax relief for multi-homeowners through 2028, giving those who wish to sell a viable opportunity to bring their properties to market.
Despite such tax reforms to curb house prices, one expert says property owners are not going to sell as the price keeps going higher.
Even with higher taxes, many homeowners will likely hold onto their properties due to strong expectations of future price growth. Because physical land for new housing is limited in Seoul and the capital region, expanding urban redevelopment and reconstruction is essential to truly stabilizing prices.
Meanwhile, the tax reform package also includes expanded tax credits for monthly rent payments to ease housing costs for working-class households, while directing more fiscal incentives toward non-metropolitan regions to foster balanced local growth. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Over at the National Assembly, the future role of prosecutors in South Korea is at the center of a growing political and legal debate. As a landmark reform heads toward final government approval, both supporters and opponents are making their final case. Our correspondent Moon Ye-ryun reports.
Korea's ruling and opposition parties remain sharply divided over a sweeping overhaul of the role of prosecutors in the criminal investigation system, with the cabinet set to take up the bill on Tuesday before it becomes law. The amendment passed by the National Assembly on July 31st strips prosecutors of their power to investigate cases directly or order police to carry out further investigations. In their place, the law enshrines a clear split between investigation and prosecution, while requiring police and prosecutors to cooperate at every stage of a case. The Democratic Party defended the legislation during a public briefing at the National Assembly on Monday, arguing that it strengthens victim protections and clarifies investigative procedures. Acting party chairman Han Bung-do described the bill as the next essential stage of judicial reform.
The revision is not the end of prosecution reform, but the beginning of a criminal justice system centered on the people. It marks a historic institutional change by ending a prosecutor-centered system and separating investigative and prosecutorial powers.
Meanwhile, the main opposition, People Power Party, renewed its call for President Lee Jae-myung to veto the bill ahead of the cabinet meeting, while also preparing a constitutional challenge. Party chairman Chang Dong-hyuk warned the legislation would undermine the country's long-standing judicial framework.
A judicial system maintained for 78 years has been dismantled overnight. Rebuilding it will take enormous time, or it may prove impossible to restore properly.
Meanwhile, National Office of Investigation Commissioner Hong Seok-ki said police would work to improve the completeness of investigations before referring cases to prosecutors, expressing confidence that closer consultation between the two agencies would reduce the need for additional investigations under the revised system. Moon Ye-ryun, Arirang News.
Tensions continue to escalate in the Middle East as U.S. President Donald Trump says Iran faces its last chance to reach a nuclear deal, while Tehran insists it is not negotiating with Washington. Our Lee Soo-jin tells us more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says that talks with Iran are underway. Trump, speaking at the Oval Office on Monday, escalated the pressure by saying this was Iran's last chance before decapitation, signaling that the U.S. could still launch the large-scale strikes on Iran. Trump, who recently held off with an order to American forces to carry out strikes at the request of Gulf allies Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, added that he hopes Iran will come to its senses to grab one last chance to strike a deal.
Now, we've already, through lots of large attacks, but they were normal large. Hopefully they'll come to their senses, because what happened cannot have a nuclear weapon, but hopefully they'll come to their senses.
Trump added that the first phase of negotiations will be opening the Strait of Hormuz, which will be followed by addressing U.S. concerns over Iran's nuclear program, which will take a little while. He underlined that Washington will not allow Iran to charge commercial vessel transit fees for passing through the strait.
And no, there's not going to be charging. We're not talking about charging at all. There won't be charging.
This comes after Iran said it was not negotiating with the U.S. and had no plans to do so. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai said at a briefing Monday local time that Iran and Oman were currently negotiating an agreement on a safe transit route for vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz. He stressed that the talks are a matter between Iran and Oman, that there is no role for the U.S. to play in the negotiations. 이수진, Arirang News.
And now for more on the situation in the Middle East, we're joined today by Matthew David Jenkins, Associate Professor at the Department of Political Science at Gyeongsang National University. Professor Jenkins, thanks for coming on today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So, despite Trump saying negotiations will resume on Monday and threatening that these new talks are Iran's last chance to make a deal, there's no indication that any new talks have been scheduled. So how do you think the negotiations will play out?
Yeah, so I think what we're going to see is more of indirect negotiations, right? You're not going to see a lot of direct, sit-downs with Iran probably in the near future, as Iran has already stated, like, has no intention of talking with the United States. But that doesn't mean that they're not negotiating, right? Both Oman is a trusted partner for both countries, and it's certainly possible that there could be, non-visible negotiations going on through Oman, and I suspect that's what's happening at the moment, right? How's the negotiations going to play out? Again, I don't really see a big settlement on the horizon. That seems unlikely at this point, given that the differences in what the two standpoints of the two countries are in terms of what's actually happening, right? With America saying, yeah, we're gonna, talks are imminent, right? We're going through talks right now, and Iran saying that no, and nothing's happening. So that's a pretty big gap. And so we'll see what happens with this Oman agreement, and we'll see what comes out of that. But as of right now, I don't expect anything to change much, in terms of the big picture.
Right, and Trump also said he's calling off a planned attack on Iran. Some reports suggest the United States is running low on weapons. What's really behind the decision?
There's probably multiple things. I don't see any credible evidence that the U.S. is actually running out of weapons. It's true that we're supplying weapons. We've been supplying weapons to the Ukraine for years now, and also to giving military support to Israel. And so, I mean, there are some strains on the weapon supply, but I don't think the United States is actually out of weapons. Massive, major stockpiles of all sorts of weapons, Patriot missiles and offensive missiles and things like that. So I think it's really more about just resource management, right? On the one hand, if the United States is going to continue to pursue its aggressive stance towards Iran, it's going to need weapons. At the same time, it's not like the other potential conflict areas have disappeared, right? China is still there. North Korea is still there. There are still a number of places where you want to have contingency, right, plans put in place. You want to have weapons available in those areas too, should another conflict arise, right? And so I think it's more about just strategic management rather than a weapons stockpile issue.
I see. And Saudi state media said the country's crown prince pushed for de-escalation during a call with Trump. Earlier in the conflict, Saudi Arabia reportedly urged the United States to ramp up attacks on Iran. So why is it now urging both sides to find an end to the conflict?
Yeah, so Saudi Arabia has multiple motivations, multiple interests, right? Yeah, it's true that Saudi Arabia is not really best friends with Iran. Certainly would like to see Iran's offensive capabilities weakened. It would like to see its military weakened. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard would like to see that weakened. And to a large extent, to a certain extent, that has been achieved, right? The U.S. did weaken Iran's defenses. It weakened its military. Already decapitated, right, the head of the Islamic Republic. So I think from Saudi Arabia's perspective, they would at this point, I think they're pretty happy with what has been achieved, and they would like to prevent a broadening of the war, right? As the closing of the Strait of Hormuz is obviously affecting Saudi Arabia directly too. So it's not. Would like to see this conflict resolved, and certainly would not welcome a widening of the war, right? And so I think that's kind of where it sits right at this point.
Right, and like you mentioned, Iran's only negotiations are with Oman, and Tehran says the negotiations on the Strait of Hormuz are entering their final stages. So what role is Oman actually playing in mediating this conflict?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, Oman is kind of playing a Switzerland type role. It's sort of a neutral intermediary. So it is playing a very important role in the negotiations, even if it's not always visible to the public, right? There are back channels, right? There are Oman does serve as a sort of a indirect intermediary between the two countries, and so the United States can has an idea for a compromise or has an idea for some kind of proposal, it can pass that to Oman and then sort of test the waters to see if it's feasible, right, in their perspective, and the same thing for the Iranian side. And of course, the Strait of Hormuz, the waters there are bordered by the two. They're mostly Iran's territorial waters and also Oman. So those are the two countries that are most directly implicated. So yeah, I think it's going to be play a very important role in terms of what the actual is. It really at the final stages? I mean, who knows, right? It's impossible really to tell. Suppose they do reach an agreement, that will not, that would be a more limited agreement about logistical things like shipping lanes and stuff like this, and whether there would be some kind of whether Iran would actually control the passage of ships to the strait, like as Trump mentioned earlier. Is it going to be a fee? Like, who's going to be actually control that? I mean, that's it's impossible for that to get settled when they're still at war with the United States, right? So it's unclear exactly how much of an impact that deal could have if it's really just between Oman and Iran. So I don't see that bringing a major resolution to the conflict in the meantime and in the near-term future either. So that we'll have to see how the U.S. responds to a deal if it is reached.
I see. I guess we'll have to see how that goes. All right, Professor Jenkins, thank you so much for coming on today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Consumer price inflation has dropped back to the 2% range for the first time in 3 months. According to the Ministry of Data and Statistics on Tuesday, the Consumer Price Index, which has stayed in the 3% range in May and June, slowed to 2.8% year-on-year in July. Petroleum product prices rose 15.5% last month, cooling down from a nearly 25% increase in June. Officials said that this slowing down was driven by falling global oil prices and the government's continued implementation of the oil price cap policy. Meanwhile, former U.S. envoy for North Korean human rights is calling on Washington to reconsider its long-running ban on Americans traveling to North Korea. In an article published by the Korea Economic Institute of America, Robert King, who served as special envoy from 2009 to 2027, said the United States has renewed the travel ban every year without publicly evaluating whether it has achieved its goals. While acknowledging the risks for inexperienced travelers, King argued that the ban has also prevented American humanitarian organizations from delivering aid to North Korea, despite their experience working with North Korean officials. The U.S. imposed a travel ban in 2017 after the death of American college student Otto Warmbier, who died shortly after being released from North Korean detention. Korea's Taekwondo Promotion Foundation has released a new promotional video highlighting the global value of Taekwondo as part of its ongoing campaign to secure UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage status. The 2.5-minute video showcases how practitioners around the world train and connect with communities. It weaves together Taekwondo's deep philosophy and vibrant community culture with sports tourism and K-culture. Co-produced by the Taekwondo Promotion Foundation and Arirang TV, the project was supported by the Ministry of Culture and the Korea Sports Promotion Foundation. You can watch the video on social media and right here on Arirang TV's various channels.
Sharing Korea's
South Korea's record-breaking heat wave is now spreading into the western part of the country, prompting authorities to issue the nation's first-ever severe heat emergency warning for parts of the Seoul metropolitan area. As temperatures continue to soar and heat-related illnesses and deaths rise, officials are now urging the public to take extra precautions against the prolonged extreme heat. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Extreme heat has now spread to western parts of the country, including the greater Seoul area, as dangerous temperatures grip much of South Korea. On Monday, daytime highs topped 41 degrees Celsius in Goryeo and Gwangyang in the south. Seoul's Guro-gu district reached 39 degrees, while parts of the Jeolla provinces climbed to around 38 degrees. Meteorologists say the blistering conditions are being driven by a shift in wind direction, with easterly winds now pushing hot, dry air into western Korea. The extreme heat is expected to continue Tuesday, with Seoul, Gwangju, and Daejeon all forecast to reach around 37 degrees Celsius. Authorities are also expanding and strengthening heat alerts. Most of the country remains under heat advisories or warnings, while southern Seoul and parts of Gyeonggi-do province are set to come under the nation's first ever severe heat emergency warning beginning at 11 a.m. Tuesday. Forecasters say the heat wave will only intensify and is expected to persist throughout the week. Seoul is forecast to remain near 37 degrees through Friday, while overnight lows will stay above 25 degrees, bringing several more nights of tropical heat. The prolonged hot weather is also taking a growing toll on public health. According to the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, 108 people were treated in emergency rooms for heat-related illnesses on Sunday alone, bringing the nationwide total since May 15th to 2,025. The country has also recorded 16 heat-related deaths so far this season. In Seoul, 18 people were taken to emergency rooms with heat-related illnesses on Sunday, raising the capital's cumulative total to 185 since mid-May. Health officials are urging residents to avoid strenuous outdoor activities during the hottest part of the day, stay in the shade whenever possible, and drink plenty of water to reduce the risk of heat-related illness. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Good morning, I'm Chu Ji-hyun, and this is The World Now. Russian officials say a Ukrainian drone came down on a crowded beach on the Black Sea coast, killing 7 people. 3 of them were children. The drone hit near the village of Archipo-Osipovka on Sunday at the height of the holiday season. It dropped toward the shoreline before erupting into a fireball. As well as the 7 deaths, 40 people were hurt, and 17 of those were hospitalized. Krasnodar's governor called it a, quote, deliberate strike on civilians. Ukraine has not responded. Both sides deny they target civilians, and it is not yet clear what the drone was aiming at. Romania has blown up a rocky outcrop on the Danube River to steer more water towards its only working nuclear reactor. This comes as the drought in Eastern Europe has left river water levels too low to cool the nuclear plant. The controlled blast on Monday threw up a tower of water and rubble, clearing ground for a temporary dam to redirect water to the reactor. Romania had already shut one of its 2 nuclear plants last week. Upstream in Hungary, the Pax nuclear plant is down to just over 10% of capacity after the Danube hit a record low water level. Eastern European countries are looking to conserve energy, and 2 car makers have paused their Romanian car plants until August 19th. In the United States, 2 people in Michigan have died from an intestinal illness traced back to iceberg lettuce. Both had serious underlying conditions that the illness and dehydration may have worsened. Michigan has now logged more than 11,000 cases and 193 hospitalizations. The Food and Drug Administration has tied the outbreak to a Taylor Farms operation in central Mexico, but authorities are still hunting for other potential sources.
If you're a healthy adult
U.S. pop star Ariana Grande will step out of public life once her tour wraps next month. A representative for the pop star told People magazine that her public-facing work has brought her, quote, endless ongoing public scrutiny. She has also pulled out of a Stephen Sondheim revival due to open at London Barbican Centre in 2027. Grande has 3 dates left in Chicago before a 10-night run at London's O2 Arena, where her tour ends on September 1st.
We are tracking a massive record-breaking heat wave pushing into the western regions today. In fact, a heat wave emergency warning, the very first of the year, will officially go into effect for the greater Seoul area at 11 a.m., as well as for Gwangju and Jeollanam-do province. In fact, Seoul had the hottest temperatures of the year so far yesterday, and readings will go even higher under that blazing sunshine. Meanwhile, there could be sudden showers in some of the western regions, which will not help much to ease the heat, but will increase the humidity. Keep an umbrella handy. And this afternoon, Seoul and Gwangju will be getting up to 38 degrees Celsius, but the eastern regions will have lower highs at 36 degrees in Daegu and 34 in Busan. This extreme heat will stick around for a while. Even the healthiest people can be at risk of heat-related illnesses. So please stay indoors during the hottest hours and drink plenty of water.
That's all we have for this morning. Arirang News will be back at noon Korea time. Thanks for watching.
For thousands of years, one breath has endured, carrying patience and respect. More than a martial art, it is the Korean way of life. Taekwondo, connecting the world. Always with us, always a part of everyday life. That is Taekwondo. Now, powered by science, Taekwondo evolves once again. Powered by speed, precision, and data, smarter training drives motivation and engagement. United with science, Taekwondo is shaping the future. Though languages and borders may differ, we are united through the shared spirit of Taekwondo. Beyond the Olympic stage, passion comes alive. Taekwondo One is becoming a global sports tourism destination. Every day, we write a new chapter of harmony. The spirit of Korea meets the boundless energy of K-pop. No longer just a sport, Taekwondo has become a driving force of K-culture, sharing Korea's spirit and style with the world. Kicks in rhythm, precision in every beat. Through the powerful movements of Taekwondo, we become one. Taekwondo, humanity's most dynamic icon, continues to prove its limitless potential to the world. Where curious footsteps pause, the vibrant spirit of Taekwondo fills the air. Inner strength, respect for others. Now a familiar part of everyday life, Taekwondo has become a celebration shared worldwide. A beautiful culture united through Ye, the spirit of respect. Connecting heart to heart. This is the world Taekwondo creates. We now strive to safeguard Taekwondo's community training culture as a treasured heritage for all humanity. The pride of Korea, Taekwondo.
From all over the world, local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April. Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences, like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million with this locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation. Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, August 4th here in Seoul. I'm Lee Soo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Chuyeong.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. And also Cheska's with us.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So we're on day 2 of the work week, and it's time to get Tuesday moving. So whether you're powering through your to-do list or just trying to make it to the end of the day, Tuesdays can use a little extra energy. And there's so much happening from morning to night. Many of us have our own little ways of capturing the moments we don't want to forget. So Chuyeong, what about you? How do you like document your day?
Well, I'm not someone who keeps a daily journal. I mean, I've tried, but I found myself doing it out of a sense of a duty, and it became like a job to me. So it didn't last long. And I also used to journal in English so that I can practice English as well while journaling, but that didn't last either. So most of the time, I document my day through random photos and short videos on my phone. Especially these days, when I want to record my day, I use Setlog, which is a trending app in Korea where you can film a 2 to 3 second video every hour. And it's really simple and fun to use. And as a content creator, I also film regular videos and save them to my camera roll, thinking I might use them in my future vlog on my YouTube channel. But most of the time, those clips never really make it into my video. But
they never see the light of the day.
Yeah. But I still like having them because I can scroll back and then, you know, just like that can remind me of that day, like the memory of it at all.
I can actually relate to the language part so much because I used to try to write and force myself to write more in Korean.
Oh, really?
But the thing is, because I was doing it to actually gain something, that makes sense, instead of just, you know, like word vomiting and like making it something that. You know what I mean? So it was like, I felt like that's why it wasn't that sustainable in the end for me either. Yeah. And also about Setlog. So that's actually what we're going to be talking about. So I look forward to hearing your experience. So what about you, Cheska?
I mean, Sujin, you probably already know I'm a journaling maniac.
Right.
I
respect that so much.
Thank you. I can get a little bit crazy and a little bit too excited. I have like a whole series of journals that I still haven't unpacked. But I love to still do pen and paper, old-fashioned. But I also have a laptop. I have a specific folder just for journaling. I love to write and sort through my thoughts. I sometimes have too much in my head, and sometimes when you actually write it out and use physical labor to put it out, then it sort of becomes organized. And also, much like what Chuyeong said, I started to doing this from time to time. I feel very awkward because I'm not like a creator mindset, but I try to set my camera throughout the day when I'm working and then record maybe like 10 to 15 seconds of me working. Because as a freelancer, sometimes it's really hard to see your work progress throughout the day. So I just have these little segments to sort of keep myself motivated. And it's like somebody's watching me while I work. So you kind of feel a little bit more responsible.
Do you use like time lapse to do that sometimes?
No, just a couple seconds. So that I can get back to my work. And then I do this really funny thing where I use my Instagram story as sort of like a mini Setlog. So I put a timestamp and a little bit of message about what I felt throughout the day. So at the end of the day, I look back at my 24 hours and then I use that to journal.
Oh, that's a beautiful way to connect like video form to written form as well.
Exactly.
You usually journal on paper or online?
Both. I try to do both. Yeah,
I
always do both.
That is amazing. So what started as a way to organize your thoughts has become a way for many people to recognize and appreciate the small moments that might otherwise be forgotten. And a desire to look back, reflect, and grow may be one reason why many young people are finding their own ways to record everyday life. So we're going to talk more about this, but first, let's take a look at the screen. There are moments in our day that when we look back, we wish we had documented. Maybe it was a special occasion, a funny moment, or simply an ordinary day that turned out to be more meaningful than we realized. And in today's digital era, people are finding new ways to preserve those memories, not just by writing them down, but by capturing them in photos, videos, and even short-form clips. So today on News Generation, we explore why young people are turning everyday moments into short videos, what makes this way of documenting our lives so appealing, and how we can capture today in a way that feels uniquely our own. Just as we saw in a video, the way we capture our everyday lives is evolving. Instead of waiting for big milestones, more people are turning ordinary fleeting moments into memories. And one app in particular that has become a hit among younger generations is taking this idea of everyday documentation to a whole new level. So we're talking about setlog today. So why has that become so popular among young users these days?
So apparently setlog actually ranked #1 in the social media app category in both Korea and Hong Kong. And the idea is actually quite simple. So imagine you have an app, as we see in the video. Every hour it gives you a notification to record a 3-second video throughout the day. And at the end, it compiles everything and puts it in a vlog form. So you can see the timestamp and the moment-to-moment video. And then what you do is you share it with a very closed network, which is very private, which is unlike social media category. So I think up to max 12 people is the max that you can share it with. And this has become increasingly popular among young people, especially in the teens and 20s. And what you do is you kind of share this with your friends and like your family, and then you kind of share your entire day in these 1-hour segments. And the number has gone up so high that by 2025, almost towards the end of May, almost 8 million users were on it. Yeah, 7.78, that's a lot of people. So if you think about it, that's about 1,000 videos being uploaded every second.
That's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, and this kind of goes against what we have expected, because you would think that people in their teens and 20s would want to use social media for more virals or to get likes. But this is a very private and closed social app, and yet 70% of the users are actually in that age group. So it's quite surprising. And I've actually seen a lot of my friends also share it on their social media or Instagram story to share the day-to-day and keep themselves motivated. Yeah.
Right, so like you said, it is quite fascinating because the app almost goes against everything we've come to expect from social media. So instead of chasing likes or creating polished content, it's actually quite encouraging to see people simply share what's happening in the moment, just like everyday moments. And that raises an interesting question about why this more private, low-pressure approach is resonating with so many young people. So Chung, you mentioned before in your intro that you have tried setlog. So why do you think it's so popular? What personally to you is like the best or most fun part about it?
Oh yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, I used setlog with my family. Yeah, so we knew my dad would never bother using it, so it's just me, my mom, and my sister.
That's so cute.
I know, right? And we started using it in May, so we were a little bit late in trend, but it was actually the perfect time for us to use because that's when I just moved out of my parents' house for the first time. And everyone was a bit sad because the time has come, like me moving out. But through setlog, we always feel connected all the time. And as a user, what I love about the app is that I only share these moments with my family, the people I love. And yeah, as a content creator, I sometimes get tired of feeling like every post I share on social media has to be impressive and perfect. But on setlog, I can just share the rawest version of myself with the people I feel most comfortable with. And apparently, a lot of young people these days feel the same way. According to a survey conducted by mBrain Trend Monitor, almost 69% of people prefer deeper relationships over broader and shallower ones. And also when asked what makes a successful life, 84% said having just a few close friends was enough. And people are tired of trying to maintain relationships with hundreds of people, and they're starting to prefer a smaller but deeper circle. And setlog allows them to stay connected without constantly performing. And that low pressure feeling is probably why it's so popular.
And I guess that's kind of why people for a while on Instagram too, people had like their own separate burner account because they wanted to post things, but they didn't want the whole world seeing them and maybe feel like they're being judged. Because that's kind of where the setlog craze comes from. Yeah. So what's interesting is that setlog isn't about chasing likes or views, like Julian said. It's about sharing small moments without the pressure of feeling or needing to be perfect. And this casual, low-pressure way of connecting reflects a bigger trend among Gen Z, wanting to stay close while still maintaining their own space. So why are young people more drawn to these authentic ways of sharing these days?
I think it's this need for balance because, as you kind of mentioned, we're living in a world where everything is going viral. Ads pop up every second and try to grab our attention every moment. And sometimes when we post something, we feel this unknown pressure, or sometimes very conscious pressure, to perform or to grab people's attention. But as you can see from the setlog, this is very, very casual. And as you see, and I've seen it in my friends too, sometimes they post people just waking up up with messy hair, brushing their teeth, even taking a nap at the office. I've seen some of my friends do that. It's a very casual, low pressure and very free sort of way to sort of share their day with the people. And sometimes people feel like they can focus more on their life when the pressure is less, and the fun is really in just expressing themselves in the way that they want to.
As someone who watches it too, it just feels so refreshing to see something that's so real and authentic. And it's also more relatable in that sense.
It is, definitely, yeah.
So in a world full of filters, edits, and AI-generated content, something simple and genuine can actually feel more meaningful. And for many young people, documenting their day has become more than just a habit, actually become something that's creative. So how are the young people turning these everyday memories into some kind of more creative content,
Well, one obvious example is Satlog, as we all discussed. One reason it has become so popular, attracting millions of users, as Cheska mentioned, is the simplicity of the app. You only record 2 to 3 seconds at a time. That's it. It's as simple as that. Even someone like my mom, who's in their 50s, finds it really easy to use. And the app creates a daily vlog at the end of the day. It removes a lot of the effort that usually comes with content creation. So it's so easy. But what's also interesting is that Naver blog has become popular again. A lot of younger users have gone back to blogging. Many people are tired of fast-paced, bite-sized content like short card-side posts or videos on Reels, Shorts, and TikTok. They can fry their brains and
there's so many.
Their attention.
There's so many.
Yeah, more and more people want to write longer posts and reflect on their days and organize their thoughts.
That's so nice for a journal maniac like me.
There's a lot of space for you.
Yes.
True. And also the platform's marketing strategy, which basically gamifies journaling, has also played a big role. And last year, over 500,000 people consistently participated in this weekly journaling challenges for over half a year. So it's very impressive.
That's a huge number. I wonder if you were part of that.
I wasn't aware. I would have won, definitely.
Right, for sure, yeah. So it shows that documenting your day isn't just about preserving memories anymore. It's about becoming a creative outlet where even the smallest moments can tell a story. And while some people turn everyday life into playful challenges, others have found entirely different ways to make daily documentations actually an art form. And to find out more about this, we'll be speaking with someone who's also actively participating in this trend of simple but meaningful daily ritual. And that conversation is coming up right after the break, so stay with us.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search out channel Arirang News. Click Posts and cast your vote in the poll. Make a new type of news with us.
We're joined now by Avery, who uses Setlog to capture everyday moments while living in Seoul. So hello, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Yes, of course. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Avery, so are there social media trends in the US that's kind of similar to Setlog, and is your way of documenting everyday life that you haven't tried yet that you would like to?
Yeah, so about 2 or 3 years ago, Be Real was really big, and I used to use it quite frequently. It's pretty similar, where you kind of take a picture every hour and it's of yourself and whatever you're doing at the moment. And that was trending for a while because people really liked the spontaneous style. But now I use Setlog since that's trending here. And besides Setlog, kind of through Setlog's kind of really easy way of just recording snippets of your life, it's made me want to try a bit more of like a long form content like YouTube vlogging. So as I've used Setlog, it's kind of really made me consider start doing YouTube or more long form content.
That's very interesting. And who do you usually share your everyday moments with on Setlog or Instagram stories, and how do you decide what to record?
So I started using Setlog back in April because my friends recommended that we start doing it. And now I have about 4 active groups, and they're all different friend groups. And I'm pretty consistent with uploading on Setlog, but I tend to make the most effort when I'm doing something interesting, like if I'm traveling or out and about with my friends. And I just decide to record during those days the most because I feel like there's something interesting happening. However, I think among my friends, I'm the most consistent with even just recording like my wall or my computer screen because it's so easy to do with Setlog. You just kind of take the little video and you're done. And it really shows like the reality of what you're actually doing day to day, and I find that really fun.
I think you got to a really interesting point because sometimes the days are repetitive and can seem mundane. So what actually motivates you to keep going? I think that is also an interesting question. And also, when you look back at those captured moments, when are you most happiest? When do you find yourself being really happy?
Yeah, so I really think the motivation is just being able to see not only what I do day to day, but what my friends are doing day to day as well. And we all have pretty different routines, and even though the content can be similar day to day, it's just nice to see what everyone's doing. And I think when I'm happiest after capturing a moment is if it's something particularly pretty, like if it's in the evening and I managed to do set log during like a sunset, or if I was doing something really fun and I can look back at the set log and see that, oh, at this hour I was jumping around with my friend at a concert, and it allows me to like look back at really fun memories and see them in a really like in the moment type of way. So I think that's set log's biggest advantage for sure, and why we enjoy using it so much.
I mean, I can relate to that because I've used set log before too, and it kind of made me realize that there's so many moments in life that I would like to look back, and it's such a great way to do it. With just a little effort, so I can really relate to that. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience with us today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we just heard how people from all over the world are finding creative ways to capture everyday moments, and this growing variety of recording methods reflects a bigger shift in how younger generations view memories and self-expression. So why do you think the younger generation enjoys recording so much of their everyday life these days?
Well, I think one reason is that recording everyday life makes ordinary time feel less invisible. When we look back on a year, we tend to remember only the major events, but most of our actual lives are made up of small routines, and recording them gives those moments a little more value. And these days, many people seem to prefer sharing with a few close friends rather than displaying their lives to everyone. So recording your day can be both personal and also social at the same time. You still feel connected, but without the pressure that often comes with sharing your life publicly.
So recording used to be more about sharing with others, but now it seems to be more about preserving moments for ourselves. And beyond simply saving memories, recording our lives can also become a way to reflect on who we are and how we grow. So how does recording daily life help people then reflect and grow in your opinion?
I think in so many ways, because I am also part of a book club. And book club is also a part of recording that you share with a very private group. And the thing about it is when you record your own work, whether in journaling form or in video or camera form, you learn so much about how you spend your day or how to organize your thoughts. But on top of that, you learn from different perspectives because you learn to kind of learn from other people's life as well. And the other thing is you learn to present your own life to others. So for instance, when I'm trying to present my day with a timestamp and a little message, sometimes I think about what kind of message do I want to give to myself and to others through this video or through this writing. So in that way, you not only go through self-reflection, but you also think about, well, how are the other people thinking about how they see life and my thoughts? And I think that's a great way to reflect.
Right, I think that's what makes these new forms of vlogging so meaningful. Whether it's a video or journal or even a simple note, each method becomes a way to understand ourselves better. So with so many ways to capture our days, everyone has their own personal way of preserving the moments that matter. So Jiyoung, how would you capture them today in your own way?
Yeah, well, I've mostly been filming videos these days, so I would try writing today. Yeah, actually, Cheska inspired me today, so thank you. Thank you very much for that. But I wouldn't just list the things that I did today. I would write more about what I saw or experienced and how those experiences made me feel and think. Because sometimes it feels like you've just had a therapy session when you spend several hours digging deeper and deeper into your thoughts until you finally reach the root of the thought and can't go any further. And I think like understanding myself on that level actually makes me feel so much better about myself, and it also makes the issue at hand feel smaller and more manageable. And yeah, I remember those feelings, so I'm going back to journaling today.
What about you, Cheska?
I love our combination today because Juyong also inspired me. And Juyong, you know this, I actually downloaded Setlog right before coming on this episode because I wanted to try. So I'll definitely be logging this episode on Setlog and see how far I can go. But on top of that, I would definitely continue making visible those unseen moments in life because I love to journal, and I think keeping track of those little moments sort of make up the entire day, and those days make up your entire life. So I would continue journaling in every form that I find possible, and I'll keep doing it so that I can always look back and say, wow, this is the life I lived.
I look forward to seeing the content you'll film.
Thank you.
Cheska. So maybe the next big trend isn't just creating content, it's creating memories. From a 3-second clip to a page full of thoughts, there are endless ways to keep a piece of today. And the question is, what moment from your day would you want to play years from now? And that brings us to the end of today's episode of New Generation Minutia. We'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time with more stories and discussions. Big thanks to Juyong.
Thank you so much for having me.
And also Cheska.
Pleasure is always mine. Thank you.
And to our viewers, thank you so much for watching. Here was your reminder that life can have a replay button when you press save on the ordinary moments that might become your favorite memories someday. We are New
Generation.
Time to set the facts straight. Get Korea right. K-culture is sweeping the globe. K-pop, K-drama, K-movie, K-food, and even K-beauty. Korean cultural content is gaining more and more fans worldwide. It's indeed the golden age of K-culture. But with this growing interest comes an increase in misinformation about Korea. There's so much inaccurate information out there. Even AI can sometimes get it wrong. So,